Marcus makes $155,000 a year. He has $4,800 in credit card debt he does not talk about at dinner parties, $11,000 in total savings, and a specific kind of anxiety that lives quietly in the background of every financial decision he makes. The BMW lease helps him ignore it. So does the new iPhone every September. Dana makes $72,000. She drives a 2019 Honda Civic she paid off 2 years ago. She travels twice a year, eats out regularly, and has not lost sleep over money since she was 26. Her net worth is $167,000. Marcus earns more than double Dana's salary. Dana has 14 times his net worth. This is not a story about income. It is not a story about luck or privilege or finding the right investment. It is a story about 7 rules, so simple and so unglamorous that most people skip them entirely while waiting for the salary that will finally fix everything. The salary never fixes it. The rules do. Let's go. Rule 1. Define your enough number before your income defines it for you. Here is a question almost nobody asks themselves seriously. How much is actually enough? Not how much would be nice, not how much would feel like success. How much do you specifically and mathematically need to live a life that feels genuinely comfortable? Most people never answer this, and because they never answer it, the answer defaults to whatever I currently earn plus a little more, which means every raise gets absorbed before it clears. Every promotion produces a lifestyle upgrade within 3 months. You earn more, you spend more, you feel exactly the same. Repeat for 40 years. Bloomberg and Lending Club data shows roughly 1/3 of households earning over $250,000 annually report living paycheck to paycheck. 1 in 3 people earning more in a month than most Americans earn in a year are financially fragile. They have the same quiet money panic as someone earning $45,000. The panic just lives in a nicer apartment, which means the solution was never the income, it was always the rules. Defining your enough number means sitting down and calculating the specific monthly amount that covers everything genuinely important to you. Rent, food, transportation, healthcare, savings, entertainment you actually value. Add 20% for breathing room. That total is your number. Write it down somewhere visible, because the forces pulling you away from it, marketing, social comparison, your own brain's appetite for novelty, are relentless and invisible and working constantly. The number is your only defense. Dana defined her enough number at 26. Marcus never defined his. That single decision explains most of the gap between them. Not the salary difference, not the career choices, the missing number. If you do not define enough, your spending will define it for you, and it will always define it as slightly more than you have. Rule 2. Every purchase has a second price tag. The second one is bigger. You see the price, you pay it. Transaction complete. Except it is not complete. Every purchase carries a second price tag that never appears on the receipt. It is the amount that money would have become if invested instead. And for most purchases, this invisible price tag dwarfs the visible one by a factor that should permanently change how you think about spending. That $300 monthly upgrade to a nicer car, over 25 years at 7% annual returns, that $300 a month compounds into $243,000. You did not spend $300 on a car. You spent nearly $250,000. You just paid it in increments small enough that your brain never processed the real number. The average American spends $219 monthly on subscriptions. Over 20 years invested, that's over $114,000 in streaming services and apps and memberships. You have been financing a vacation home in monthly installments of $12 and forgetting about it immediately. The question is not whether some things are worth the second price tag. Some genuinely are. A gym you actually use, a streaming service you love. The point is that you should be choosing with full knowledge of the real cost, not because the monthly fee felt manageable. Every purchase is a choice between the thing and what the money would have become. Most people only ever see one side of that choice. Train yourself to see both. Rule 4. Know who you're actually spending for. Open your bank app right now. Look at your last 15 discretionary transactions. For each one, ask a single honest question. Would I have bought this if nobody would ever know I owned it? Not would I be embarrassed, just would I still want it if it were completely invisible to every other person alive? This exercise is uncomfortable because a surprising number of purchases fail that test. Research from the Millionaire Next Door study found that 86% of luxury car owners are not millionaires. The BMW is statistically a debt signal, not a wealth signal. The people who actually have the money usually drive something reasonable and quietly compound the difference. Social comparison theory tells us humans constantly evaluate their own standing against others, and we've never been more exposed to other people's consumption than right now. Every scroll through social media is a quiet status audit you didn't ask for. Every time you feel that vague inadequacy looking at someone else's new car or kitchen renovation, your brain registers a gap that has a dollar amount attached to it. Retailers know exactly what triggers this feeling. They've spent billions engineering it. The least you can do is recognize when it's happening. Here's the layer nobody mentions. The people you're spending to impress are usually too busy managing their own version of the same feeling to notice yours. You're performing financial success for an audience that is simultaneously performing financial success back at you. That's an extraordinarily expensive loop with no winner. Buy things you genuinely love. Know why you're buying them. If the honest answer involves what someone else will think, that's not preference. That's the algorithm spending your money for you. Rule 4. The 72-hour firewall. Between 40 and 80% of all purchases are impulse-driven. That's not a rounding error. That's the majority of what most people spend. Here's why it matters. The dopamine hit from deciding to buy something is nearly identical to the dopamine hit from actually completing the purchase. Once you've decided, the urgency starts dropping, which means if you create a mandatory pause between wanting something and being allowed to buy it, you've essentially hacked your own reward system. The rule is simple. Any non-essential purchase over $50 requires a 72-hour wait before completing the transaction. You can research it, you can put it in your cart, you cannot pay. What happens during that 72 hours is predictable and documented. Roughly 60% of things people desperately wanted on Monday, they've completely stopped thinking about by Thursday. The desire was real in the moment. It just wasn't durable. Retailers manufacture urgency specifically to bypass this natural decay. 24-hour flash sale. Only 3 left in stock. Your cart is expiring. These are not facts. They're behavioral engineering designed to compress your decision window before the wanting fades. Missing a sale because of your 72-hour rule is not losing. It's a system built by someone who understands that manufactured urgency is not your friend, winning against one designed by 1,000 behavioral economists trying to capture your money. Remove saved payment information from websites. Delete shopping apps from your phone. You won't buy less because you became more disciplined. You'll buy less because the friction changed. Inconvenience, for once in your financial life, is genuinely working in your favor. If this is reshaping how you see your own financial behavior and you want this every single day, hit subscribe. This is what this channel does. Back to it. Rule 5. The replacement test. Before replacing anything, your phone, car, laptop, furniture, appliance, it must answer yes to at least one of 3 questions. Is it actually broken in a way that repair can't fix for less than half the replacement cost? Does the new version do something fundamentally different, not marginally better, but genuinely different, that changes what you can accomplish? Is keeping this thing costing more money than replacing it? If you can't answer yes to at least one of those, you're not replacing something broken, you're buying newness. And newness has a second price tag that will shock you when you calculate it honestly. Americans replace phones on average every 2.5 to 3 years, driven not by failure, but by the feeling that the current one is getting old. A $1,000 phone every 3 years for 30 years is $10,000 in devices. Stretch the replacement cycle to 5 years and invest the difference. The gap at 7% annual returns exceeds $30,000 from a phone that makes the same calls and sends the same texts. The replacement habit is dangerous, precisely because no individual instance feels unreasonable. It's only when you total the ledger across a decade that the real number reveals itself, and by then, it feels like just who you are. It's not who you are. It's a habit, and habits can change when you see the actual cost clearly enough. Rule 6. Automate everything before your brain gets involved. Willpower is not a financial strategy. At some point, you have told yourself you were going to start saving more. You meant it completely. It lasted about 3 paychecks. Then something came up or nothing came up, but somehow the money still was not there. That is not a character flaw. That is what happens when you rely on intention instead of infrastructure. Behavioral economists changed retirement savings behavior across entire institutions by making enrollment automatic instead of opt-in. Participation rates jumped from 49% to 86%. Nobody became more disciplined. The default changed. Here is the automation stack that actually works. The day you get paid, an automatic transfer fires to your investment account before you see the money. Your emergency fund lives at a separate bank with no debit card, so accessing it requires deliberate effort. Your retirement contribution is set as a percentage, not a dollar amount, so it scales automatically with every raise. Bills auto-pay. The order matters enormously. Pay yourself first, not after rent, not after groceries, not after expenses are sorted. First. When savings comes last, it gets whatever remains, which is usually nothing. When savings comes first, spending adjusts to what remains. It always adjusts, because humans are extraordinarily good at living within structural constraints. The people building wealth consistently are not more disciplined than the people who are not. They built better architecture. Stop relying on willpower. Build the architecture. Rule 7. Protect your freedom horizon above everything else. Here is the question that tells you more about your actual financial health than any other number. If you lost your job tomorrow with no warning, no severance, nothing, how many days could you survive without changing anything about your lifestyle? Count the actual days, not roughly, not I would figure something out. Specific days until the first bill does not get paid. For the median American, that number is approximately 14, 2 weeks of runway between their current life and financial collapse. That specific number is your freedom horizon, and I would argue it is the most honest measure of financial well-being that exists. Not your income, not your stated net worth, not your job title. The days you could survive intact without a paycheck. Research found that having just $2,000 in accessible emergency savings produces a larger improvement in financial well-being than almost any other single financial factor measured. Not 200,000, 2,000, because 2,000 extends the freedom horizon past the point where every unexpected expense becomes a crisis. This is exactly why Dana sleeps through the night on $72,000 a year and Marcus lies awake doing math on $155,000. Dana has a 6-month freedom horizon. Marcus has 11 days. The BMW did not extend his freedom, it compressed it. Every lifestyle upgrade that increases monthly expenses is a direct reduction in freedom. Every dollar added to the emergency fund extends it. Build 1 month of expenses first, then 3, then 6. When you reach 6 months, something shifts in your psychology that is genuinely difficult to describe until you have felt it. The background hum of financial anxiety, the low-frequency worry that lives under every decision, starts to quiet. Not because nothing can go wrong, because you have built enough margin that something going wrong no longer means everything goes wrong. That quiet is what financial stability actually feels like. Not a number, not a salary, not a title. That silence where the money stress used to be. Marcus is not a bad person. He's not reckless. He just never defined his enough number, never calculated the second price tag, never asked who he was actually spending for, never built the firewall, never applied the replacement test, never automated anything, and never protected his freedom horizon. None of those feel like catastrophic mistakes in the moment. Each one looks like living, like enjoying success, like being normal. The problem is that normal right now means living with constant low-grade financial anxiety on incomes that should provide complete security. Normal is broken. Dana earns less than half of Marcus's salary and could absorb a 6-month job loss without selling a single asset. She's not deprived. She is living a smaller life. She is living a quieter one. And that quiet is not something you stumble into. It is built, 7 rules at a time. Pick the one from this list that landed hardest. Start with that one today.